All right, technical difficulties. Sorry for the cutout there. We were talking about the 2023 breakout bet. Murph was in the middle of talking about Mr. Austin Wells. So I want to put a button on that conversation. We will get to the winner of the 2023 breakout bet award, Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember exactly where we were when we cut out, but I think he'll deliver if he finds his path to the big leagues. And I think Volpe has a little bit of a straighter path now that they mentioned that he could be the starting shortstop earlier in the offseason. So, most touted prospect, if he makes it up, I think he's as poised as anybody to have a breakout.
I mean, I think Volpe's the clear-cut choice for what it's worth. I just thought Wells was an interesting guy who deserved a little bit of respect in this category, especially since we're all nominating different players. I mean, Volpe is if it's not Volpe, it's a disappointment. Just put it that way.
Yeah, I'm glad he threw Wells in there because he deserves a little love, and I'd love to see him come up if it happens.
Yep. So the winner of the 2023 Breakout Bet Award is Anthony Volpe. That's a little bit of a chalky pick, but I can understand why. He's the highest prospect, highly touted prospect on the team, highest ranked prospect. It was him, then Peraza, Marinaccio, Austin Wells only got 11 votes, 11 singular votes. So didn't quite make the case, Chandler.
Well-educated 11, though, I will say.
Yeah, that is a pretty well-educated.
I didn't expect him to win. It's just he's the next closest guy, in my opinion, that could be an impact player. He's just not flashy like the other guys. So aside from that glorious mustache.
True. All right, last two awards of the night. We have the What Were You Thinking award. Now, this is previously won by me. I said before or during last season, I think it was before last season, I said that Clint Frazier would be a top 3 left fielder in baseball by the end of the year. I think a lot of people had that general sentiment that he was going to be a good fielder. That didn't end up really good. So it's basically cold take of the year. Clint Frazier doesn't even go by Clint anymore. So
yeah, Clint Frazier doesn't exist.
He doesn't exist. He doesn't play baseball anymore. So that's a really, really great.
Does. Plays in the Mexican League.
Okay, so he plays there.
Only hits 200.
My cold take of the year. My What Were You Thinking for this year? When we record a podcast for an entire year, there's gonna be some bad takes, and when you try to be entertaining like ourselves, you'll say some things like, I think Gallo has a shot at an MVP dark horse, since he will be sandwiched between Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, being a lefty in between those two righties. I mean, he had the opportunity, certainly. I think the methodology was there. I think a year 2 in the Bronx, sandwiched between two perennial MVP candidates. He had it served up to him on a silver platter. That was my thought process there, is that he has insert player here. That player is more productive in the spot that Gallo had over anybody else in any other spot situation in the league. So that went horribly wrong. Other takes where Chandler said that we were good enough to be the Astros in 6, that we lost in far less than that. So that didn't work out too well for us. He also said that Higgy would have over 25 home runs. I'm not sure what the final count there.
He turned it on, and we also didn't expect this out of Trevino. So
did he more home runs? Sorry, spring training than the regular season? Can we check? He had like 7 in spring training.
He had 10 in the regular season. Okay. So and actually, it wasn't that terrible.
If he didn't end up with a platoon spot, had Trevino not came in and been the best thing ever, I think he would have done or been damn close.
It wouldn't have been that cold of a take if he played every game.
I don't think it's as crazy as it sounds when you look at what he did from like the All-Star break on. He had a miserable first half of the year, but once he hit that first home rome,
and that's been his thing forever. He has like only multi-home run games. It seems like he hits them in bunches, but then has dry spells.
Damon's take was Aaron Hicks is the most important player to have a good year. I don't think that's a bad take, Damon. I mean, it's correct. It's just Aaron Hicks.
It just turned out very poorly. That's why I put it there.
Murph, this one also not like super incorrect because we just didn't get a chance to see what would happen. But you said that if Judge isn't extended by the deadline, that we're in fourth, we would be sellers.
I have a worse take that I found. I listened to a couple. I said that Luis Heel was going to be a top 3 in the rotation come playoff time.
That's not a terrible.
That's worse than the Judge thing because I still think that would have been true if we were in fourth at the deadline.
I think if Heel had stayed healthy, like there's a decent chance that he could have made. I mean, his ceiling's higher than. Well, I guess you're kind of.
That's the thing. It would have been a hot take
by Nestor and Sevi.
And who knows? I mean, we didn't know Montas was coming at the deadline, but he wasn't even in there anyway. Like, if he was the 3 starter going into the playoffs, we would have not gotten to the DS. No way.
But I mean, his ceiling is higher than Tyone or Montgomery or Montas or any of the. Like, I don't think that's a bad take.
I mean, I don't know.
I just also noticed that I'm on the votes right now, and Murph just voted for Volpe for the 2023 breakout.
I was kind of just clicking through because I wanted to see. I thought it was going to show up with like percentages and stuff, but then they were.
I have the percentages on my end.
Yeah. I thought it was like I didn't. Yeah, I was kind of.
Wells was my submission, so it makes sense that Murph voted for Volpe.
Yeah. So I guess we didn't post this one because it takes a lot of like context and stuff like that. So I think among us, I'll hand up. I think mine's probably the worst.
So,
yeah, I agree with that.
Drop my phone there.
So I think, Joey Gallo, dark horse MVP candidate, is not not a good. I'm back to back on that award. So
do you remember when we posted the clip of that and it was bad enough to where we had to like reevaluate it? It's like, all right, people are like about to send Luke death threats.
I mean, I'll tell you what, brutal. the thought process was there, and I think situationally, like I was saying, if you inserted anybody in the situation that Gallo had, they are going to have the most impact, the best year of any situation. Like if Bryce Harper was there, he would absolutely easily win MVP. Like if anybody, like that was the point.
Funny thing about it is that the guy who you thought was going to set somebody up to win MVP won MVP.
Yeah. Well, I also just said that because Judge and Stanton are going to see less pitches. So if you're going to pitch to one person, it's going to be to Gallo, and he's a lefty. So if you're going to bring in somebody with the 3-batter minimum rule, it's going to be a righty to face those 2 righties. So, I mean, the thought process, I'll wear this one, but the thought process is not wrong. So, obviously, the outcome is not what Gallo would have hoped to.
So next year, whoever's hitting in the 3 hole is going to win MVP.
I suppose so.
Rizzo.
Yeah, Rizzo is going to win MVP.
Now, honestly, that's not that. Like that's less far fetched than Gallo.
Yeah,
I feel like if we really went through and listened to every single episode again, we could find
some worst takes.
The worst.
I mean, we talk about the Yankees twice a week,
very
week
often
for a year. So, and occasionally we have some emotional reactions to things.
And same with this next award is if you looked back and listened, it's tough for us to go back and find it. So if you think there's any worse takes or better takes that you've heard throughout the year, you guys are the ones that are listening more than we are, honestly. So we just, it's hard to remember what we said. So take of the year, last award of the night, of the year. I'll start this one out. I mean, last year, Chandler won this for saying lasagna. This is before the season started. This is when Chapman was still awesome, and he was one of the better pitchers or relievers in baseball. And Chandler said that lasagna is being groomed to be the closer, and he should be the closer. And he had a fantastic year in 2021. So that was a very good take. And he definitely
he should be the closer heading into next year, just for what it's worth.
Also true. So that's a great take. That one last year. My take this year is I think that Montas will be Sonny Gray 2.0, coming over from Oakland, turning into a pumpkin, not being able to do it in a big stage. I think that was a pretty good take.
No offense, that wasn't your best take. Your other one that you had written down there about Mr. Judge was my opinion,
Okay.
take of the year.
Okay, so
I don't
I'll
think that
so
was
my
a
take
I
for
think
those that
was
don't have
being
the doc in
emotional.
front of them, I'll read the take, Chandler. So that take was I said when Judge had 21 home runs, I said that he would break the Roger Maris home run record. He narrowly did that at the end of the year. So I think that's a pretty damn good take too. But I think what you're saying, Chandler, I think in the moment I would have said just about anything. Like this guy's pacing to beat Roger Maris's record. So I was like, oh yeah, he'll do it. But I genuinely believed it. I think Judge, if anybody could do it, Judge could maintain that amount of home runs that he's done. He's been close before. He hit over 50 before. So
I thought you said that earlier than 21 home runs, but still, I mean, I didn't think there was any way he was going to actually break it at that time.
I'm just saying, if it's one, like, Luke is the most, like, reactive,
polarizing,
excited, like,
thank you, Murph.
Higgy'll hit 3 home runs and be like, this guy is going to win the home run derby next year. And then
he could.
I'm not saying
that's why he's got best and worst takes of the year, because he just throws shit at the wall and some
of it sticks, some of it doesn't.
What I'm saying, though, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying that your other takes that actually you put thought into and wasn't a reaction one deserve more credit, because it showed your baseball knowledge more.
I appreciate that. And I do think that's why I picked the Montas one, because I mean the writing was kind of on the wall. We've seen that song and dance before.
I feel like it's a little early though to say he's Sonny Gray.
He was certainly looked that way. He was supposed to be our savior as like a playoff number 2 behind Cole, and he certainly was not that. Other takes this year, Damon said he could beat Stanton in a race. That could be take of the year, or what were you thinking? Depends on the beauty's in the eye of the beholder there. Whatever you guys think as the listeners, I think that's, I mean, we haven't done it, so like that you can't even consider that a take of the year. But Damon had an actual take that had merit, and it was that Clay Holmes, this is before the season started, he said Clay Holmes will be the Yankees' number 2 bullpen arm. And for a while there, he was looking like number 1 on every single team. So I think that's a pretty good take. He obviously went downhill a little bit, and Wandy probably ended up as the number 1. Marinaccio is probably number 2 if you want to do an end of year.
Loaizaga.
Yeah, Loaizaga.
Once Loaizaga came back from injury in the summer, he was lights out.
But I think for the purposes of this take, before the season, Clay Holmes was not the pitcher that we saw for half the year. So it's a pretty good take. Yeah, I think other takes that I had written down, if you guys have any that you can remember that you said, I said Carpenter was going to come up big in a Greg Bird like spot in the Indian series. He didn't do that, so that's upsetting.
The only one I could think of off the top that was somewhat good was when we traded for Bader. I said something along the lines of he will be a big part of the postseason, not only defensively but offensively. I said something along the lines of his bat will come up somewhere in the playoffs.
I'll take your word for it.
Definitely not to the extent that it did.
Yeah. And all of us said that Chapman won't be the closer come October on May 17th. So I think that's a very good take, because he could not have ended up in a worse spot. So I think
Was that after the Orioles game where he walked in
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, that was at a time where that was the conversation of like, is Clay Holmes going to be the closer? Everybody was unanimously saying yes, because he hasn't allowed a run. Chapman had not been pitching well. So that was all of us. And is there any other fiery takes that you want to fire into here for consideration here? The final award of the night.
I can't think of anything.
I definitely said Donaldson was going to be a big playoff piece.
It's a good take, then. It's a very good take. Damon's been smoking on the reefer a little bit too much before we record the podcasts. Just kidding, he would never. So if those are the final ones to be sent in here, what do we think is the winner here?
Like Damon's got that 1-1. I submitted Damon's on behalf of Damon because I was so confident that his would win.
I don't agree.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you on that, actually, with the Clay Holmes thing, because, I mean, the only reason he wasn't up there towards the end of the year, a lot of it had to do with injuries, and he was, at a point, the closer. So to sniff that out preseason when we were talking about Loaizaga and Chapman was supposed to still be a person, and whoever else is
Britain
coming.
was supposed to come
Britain
back
was
at some
supposed to be a
point.
person. That was a hot take at the time, and it definitely panned out for the better.
Whatever. You win, Damon.
Yay!
Take of the year, but Damon, I'm not back to back. Oh no, I didn't even win last year either. That is the 161 awards. Let's go through the count and find out who is the 161st boy of 2022. We have, to round it out, Trevino, best surprise. Biggest disappointment, Joey Gallo. Sunmeister, Aaron Hicks. Damon, take of the year. Brinks truck is Aaron Judge. Locker room guy is Anthony Rizzo. No duplicates yet. Silver Fox, Matt Carpenter. Iron Ball is Harrison
MVP.
Bader. Judge was MVP. Nestor was Cy Young. Volpe, breakout bet, and Carpenter was the almost MVP. We have 2 Carpenters. We have 2 Judges. Do we have 2 Nestors? No, we only have 1 Nestor. So 2 Carpenters and 2 Judges. Who do we want to give it to?
Should we take a vote here between us 4?
I think it should be Carpenter because next year when we talk about that, I think it'll be a little bit more of a conversation piece.
It'd be
I think
funnier.
I'm
Yeah.
I would go with Judge because I'm going based off merit, not a funny conversation a year from now. But
I think
I
a funny
respect where
conversation
you're
from a year from now would be hilarious.
I outweigh a funny conversation a year from now. There it is. Coin flip. I did it. Don't fact check me on that. It was Matt Carpenter. Congrats to Matt Carpenter on being the 161st boy of the year. That's just essentially the biggest accolade anybody can ever achieve. So congrats to him. Hope that he's a Yankee next year. For the conversation for next year, I hope he's kind of not, because we'll be like, oh, remember the time when? Or, if he's a Yankee and he wins MVP, not an almost MVP, he would be a very good guy. So that was the 161 awards. This was a lot of fun. Let us know what you think of them. If there's any awards that you would have done that we should do next year, let us know. Put it in the suggestion box, also known as our Instagram DMs or our Twitter DMs. And yeah, had fun. Catch you guys later. We'll get into the same routine. We're recording on Wednesday nights now in the off season, putting these episodes out on Thursdays once a week until the spring training starts to ramp up. And then before we know it, Yankees will be taking the field. Hopefully Hal ponies up and spends that bread and gets us a team that could win a World Series. Yeah. Let's go, Yanks.
Let's do it.